You know, I was thinking about a last question for you for the year, and besides the owner, the great veterinarian, that's you, Newkirk Family Veterinarians, Dr. Mark Newkirk, more than 3 decades of experience. You're the most important human in that dog or that cat's life or whatever the pet is that you're seeing. Tell your listeners, Dr. Newkirk, for that first visit when someone is bringing their pet to you, what can they do that will help the whole process? Is there something that they can do that maybe they don't realize until they get there? Had they known it, they could even been better prepared. Is there some things that come to your mind for that first trip to the veterinarian?
Well, I think the best thing to do is come prepared with your questions, and no question is too silly because the answer might be very important. The biggest thing that we want to talk about is, and we like to, so let's divide that into a couple of things, because right now people are potentially buying pets as presents for Christmas.
Good point.
So I think the number one thing you want to do is assess your lifestyle before you go into that store and you say, oh, isn't that Siberian Husky so cute? But I have a 2-bedroom apartment in the city. You know, this is not a good choice of a dog for you. You know, and talk to your veterinarian even before. He's going to know many things about the different breeds that, of course, you don't. And, you know, get some informed advice. So I think that's number one. And remember, too, your age. You know, maybe now the last time you had a puppy, you were in your 40s, and now you're, you know, in your late 50s or early 60s. And you remember, gosh, you know, I remember that puppy, that Labrador. We used to have fun. We used to run. We used to bike 3 miles. Well, you know, the dog still wants to do that, and maybe you're 60 now, and you don't want to do that, or you can't do that.
Yes.
And so you buy a dog with high energy, and that doesn't fit your lifestyle. So these are things to really consider before you get into it. You know, maybe you used to live on a house with 2 acres, and now you moved into a small home with a patch of tiny yard out the back. You know, so again, a big dog in that situation is probably not going to be good. And then once you get the puppy, as I say, come in, prepare your list of questions, and, you know, make sure you get all those answered. We have a protocol that we follow. Once, you know, we've examined the puppy and we've got all your questions answered, then I'm going to tell you some things, you know, maybe about the vaccination schedules, about diet and nutrition, which is hugely important. You know, so we want to make that visit nice and smooth, especially if you're adopting a dog, which we always highly recommend. You know, sometimes there the history is not known. So, you know, again, we'll talk about vaccination and heartworm and fleas, and, you know, if it's the season. So, but I think really do more research or do more thoughtful insight, let's say, before you succumb to that cute face in the pet store or in the shelter, and you get home and 2 weeks later you're saying, oh my gosh, you know, I can't run with this dog. I never thought about that. Well, you know, you need to think about that before.
It's great information. Doc, can you stay for 2 more minutes to take one more phone call?
Sure.
Great, and then we'll get you out of here. You're on the air with Dr. Newkirk. Go right ahead.
Hi, Harry. Hi, Dr. Newkirk.
Hey.
What I'm about to say is the dangers of if your dog gets into the trash and eats chicken bones. And there's no glamour in what I'm about to say. And she's an elderly Dalmatian. I don't know how I could ever explain it to my neighbors what I did, but I had to give her a suppository. So that they're still going, what the heck was going on that front porch? But so what happened was she started tinkling all over the house. So Stanley Steamer was very happy, but that still didn't work, doctor. So then my husband called his brother, and he said, give her a stool softener. That worked. Then that was round 2 for Stanley Steamer. But what caused that? Is that her bladder was being pushed by her colon, and this happened to her? It was just amazing that she's still alive, doctor.
Well, I can't say that there's an honest relationship between those two things. There's plenty of room in that abdomen between the bowel and the bladder. So, of course, you're ingesting the chicken bones and they're going into the bowel. So it honestly wouldn't have anything to do with the bladder. Now, it may have been if she was trying to expel the bones, and if she was sort of constipated or had trouble passing those chicken bones, then as she's straining, then oftentimes they'll urinate at the same time because they're pushing a lot of pressure down there. So that's the only way I could see that was related. Otherwise, it potentially just had a coincidental bladder infection at the same time.
Okay, well, thank you, but you had, really, I'm going to tell you, leave you with a funny note. You had to understand where if my neighbor saw me doing that, they'd still be scratching their head like, I wonder what
I'm sure.
You're a good owner.
Merry Christmas.
They wondered who was living next door, I guess. Oh.
Yeah, what's going on there, Doc? Closing comment for the year, Dr. Newkirk?
The biggest thing is that everybody have a happy holiday season, and be careful with the toys that you're buying as well for your animals, because, of course, many of us buy toys for our animals. Be careful with, especially with the dogs, if they chew up the soft toys that have the squeakers in them. Make sure they're not swallowing the little squeakers. Bells, the same thing. Some toys with bells in them, they'll swallow that stuff. Make sure the bones that you're buying for them are nice and large versus small that could potentially get swallowed whole. And just have a happy and a safe holiday. And we look forward to seeing you all in the next year with healthy dogs and healthy kittens and healthy birds and no holiday hazards. That would be the perfect gift for me.
That's beautiful, Dr. Newkirk. Dr. Mark Newkirk, Newkirk Family Veterinarians, 609-823-3031 in the Margate Hospital, if you will. Egg Harbor Township at 3085 English Creek Avenue, 609-645-2120, on the World Wide Web at newkirkfamilyveterinarians.com. And we are all set for Tuesday, January 20th, unless the doc is either in surgery or traveling on continuing education or away. That's our next scheduled appearance, just for our listeners' planning purposes in the new year. Doc, thank you for a great year, and Merry Christmas to you and yours.
And to you, Harry. Thanks now.
Thank you, Doc.
Take care.
You know it. You too, buddy. We're going to take a brief time out.